Story 1. Let me preface this with a bit of a backstory. First, this is my sister's story, and she gave me permission to share it with you all as she thinks it is one of the craziest things to ever happen to her. To start, my sister and I both work for our local school district for the daycare program they offer for parents who need to work or can't be home in time to get their children off the bus. My sister, who is only 17, was paired with a coworker who we'll call Amy, early 40s for the sake of this story. My sister is well liked by the staff and her supervisors, while Amy is often spoken to by her supervisors and thinks she runs the place and holds some sort of power. Because Amy is an employee, her child gets moved from the wait list and is able to participate in the program. Let me say this, the child was in no way at fault. He is very well behaved and loved among the staff. So, my sister, being paired with Amy, found that Amy thought she could boss my sister around and treat her like an inferior. But my sister was actually supposed to be training her. The kids split up for group activities, and my sister took a group of kids, which included Amy's son. They were doing some obstacle courses outside, and this 5-year-old little boy handed my sister some dandelions he picked from the ground and gave them to her. She thanked him, and this conversation took place. Sister: Thank you. Nice kid. That is very thoughtful of you. Nice kid. You're welcome, Miss C. By the way, I don't think you're fat. You are very pretty. Sister, shocked by the words that just came out of his mouth. Well, nice kid, that's not nice. We don't want to call anyone names. It may hurt their feelings and make them sad. Nice kid. Ah, well, my mommy said that you were fat, and I told her that you were very nice. He ran off to continue playing. My sister was caught off guard because children his age have no reason to lie and are normally brutally honest. So, she took it to her supervisor, and they said they would look into it. My sister laid pretty low when it came to Amy. Eventually, a few months went by where nothing happened, and no action was taken by the school. Just last week, apparently, Amy had hit a car in a local supermarket parking lot and sped off without leaving a note or contacting the owner of the car she hit. Someone happened to get her license plate number. The local police came to the school where she was working and pulled her out of work to talk to her. My sister heard the next part from a coworker. She had heard that when the police ran Amy's license, she had a warrant out for her arrest for a failure to appear. She was arrested on site and immediately fired. Her husband had no idea about anything and bought a catered lunch for all of the employees to apologize for the mess she had created. The last my sister knew, he is divorcing her, and she has been fired. He has full custody of the child now and is actually a very involved parent. Story 2. It was a textiles class in 2014 with a teacher who didn't like me, and we were making bags. She said to paint onto one side of the bag, so I did that. However, when she saw what I was doing, she had a fit because, apparently, I was painting on the wrong side. I said, "Okay, sorry," and redid it right. She then went to help another student, my friend, but started whining about me to him. The problem is that in our school, the teachers use a necklace with a built-in microphone, so everyone can hear what she said, things like "I never listen," and "I'd be lucky to work at a fast food restaurant." Everyone could hear it on the speakers and was looking at me. So I was mad and said, "Miss, you shouldn't talk about me behind my back." She immediately said she wasn't talking about me. I said, "Yes, you were. We could all hear it on the sound system." To which she grabbed her speaker and then said something about it being rude to listen in on a conversation. I was about to explode because she was treating me poorly, so I went to grab my bag and leave the classroom. She started screaming at me, and I just walked to my head of year's office and told him I had an argument with my teacher. So I came to your office so I wasn't missing and I didn't lose it. I did have anger management problems back then, and I could have flipped out and hit her or something. So I left like I had been taught. That's where this should end, and I would have moved on, but she was stubborn. That night, my mom got a phone call from her saying that my behavior was unacceptable and that she was going to get me suspended or expelled for it. However, I had told my mom as soon as I got home what happened. Also, apart from my anger management, I was a good kid to the point I got awards out of winning 800 kids for excellent effort. So my mom hatched a plan and said she was deeply sorry and asked for a meeting with her, the head of school, and us. We all showed up. However, my mom knows all my friends quite well and asked the kid the teacher was speaking to tag along. So I walked in with my mom, and I could see the big grin on her face until my friend walked in behind us, and it disappeared. The head of school asked me if I was aware of why I was there, and I said, "Yes, sir. I'm here for my behavior in the class and storming out, which I regret." However, the reason I did so was because I have anger management problems and didn't want to do anything worse because of what she was doing. He then asked me what I meant by that, and I said that she was bad-mouthing me to another student but left the speaker on. She claimed that wasn't true, but my friend said, "No, miss, you were talking to me, and you were," and started listing what she said. The head of school took a breath and said we could go. That teacher was gone by the end of the month. She said she left. But on my last day, I asked my tutor, who is also a teacher, and he said, "No, she got fired." I still think about that a lot, and it always makes me feel better whenever someone is talking about me because karma is real, and it will work out sooner or later. Story 3. So, it's been a while since I posted about my mother, but reading about a wannabe welfare scammer in another subreddit reminded me of her today. My entitled mother, to put it frankly, is a narcissistic borderline user who cannot comprehend why none of her 3 children, the one involved in illegal activities, the mentally ill one, and the petty criminal, speak to her after years of abuse and fraud. I haven't spoken to her for about 13 years now, and she still goes on about ungrateful offspring on social media. It's good for a laugh, if nothing else. I'm on disability because I have 3 mental illnesses, 2 neurodivergence conditions, minor physical disabilities, post-traumatic stress disorder, and childhood intergenerational trauma. I lived at home because of the extremely unhealthy codependent relationship I had with my mother. Because I was on the disability pension, she got a full carer's payment from the Australian government. Because we were both on government assistance, we lived in a public housing place that was calculated at 25% of our fortnightly income. While we weren't living in luxury by any means, we were doing better than a lot of other people on welfare. With a bit of frugality and creativity, we could have had a thriving life with friends and family. Oh, wait. That would have meant my mother would have had to spend time and money on something that wasn't substances. She received a carer's payment for me and demanded over half my pension for bed and board. Now, I was happy to pay my way, as rent was calculated on my income as well as hers, and I used electricity too. But I paid for the internet, my own mobile phone, anything that I only ate or drank, and my own transport. With the amount she was getting as a carer, Mum should have been willing to drive me places. Oh no, if I wanted to go anywhere that was out of her way, I had to pay her petrol money. I had to do the heavy housework like vacuuming, hauling groceries because it was too heavy for her, and accompany her on shopping trips. Then, if I was going down to the shops and the library, I had to bring back smokes, milk, books, and anything else she might have forgotten. Some days, I was laden like a pack mule, and we had no reliable public transport to my house. I can't drive because of my disabilities. I had to take care of myself and oftentimes her, despite literally having disabilities. She refused to do the job she was receiving money for. It all came to a head when my brother returned home and wound up back with her ex-girlfriend. She went into a rage, and I had to move out for my own safety. I moved out and discovered that with a bit of support, I can live on my own. I moved out on Monday, went back to get some stuff on Wednesday, and had somewhere to live by Friday when I informed the government that I was no longer living there. She lost her pension immediately and had to scramble for disability herself. I'm now 2 hours north of where she is, living in a quiet community housing block with disability support and thriving. She's alone with 5 social media friends, her dealer, and 2 dogs that dislike her. Story 4. Many years ago, I worked at Kinko's, now FedEx office. I often worked graveyard shifts and had to deal with lots of people early in the morning who hadn't had their coffee yet. For some context, overnight was the time when long machine runs were printed and tedious finishing work was done. Being the only one working until 6 a.m. when the morning crew started to trickle in, I was often in the middle of something when a customer came in, and it would take me a second to get to the counter to help them. One morning around 5 a.m., I was in the back doing some binding work. I heard the door alarm and had just put a perfect binding in the heater. This takes about 15 to 20 seconds to melt the glue and bind the pages. I yelled from the back, "I'll be right out." The witchy customer yelled back, "I'm in a hurry." I finished the binding and got up to the counter. Me? Sorry about the wait. What can I do for you? Witchy customer, can I see your resume paper selection? Our resume papers were literally sitting 6 inches away from her on the counter, and a little bound book that had resume paper printed in big, bold letters. I slid the book over in front of her and opened it up. As she flipped through it, she proceeded to complain about the color and texture of every paper before asking me the price. Me, 15 cents per copy, plus 7 cents if you want to print on the second side. Witchy customer, that's expensive. Don't you have any better paper for that price? Me, sorry, that's our full selection of resume papers. The only other options are plain white copy paper, neon-colored paper, or cardstock. Are you going to need this double-sided or single-sided? I could see that she had in front of her a 2-page resume, which usually printed single-sided. Witchy customer, which one is cheaper? Me, double-sided will be cheaper. But for resumes, our customers usually prefer single-sided. Witchy customer, just give me 50 copies double-sided on the sandstone. I confirmed her selection and headed back to the copier to complete her order. I printed out a proof and, as a matter of quality assurance, I gave it a once-over to confirm we weren't getting any marks, random spots, streaks, etc. I noticed that her job title on her most recent job was something like copywriter. I assumed she meant copywriter and confirmed as much by reading a bit of the description. Me, ma'am, I notice your previous job title is. Witchy customer, interrupting. I'd appreciate it if you didn't snoop on my personal information. Me, I apologize. I just noticed a typo. Witchy customer, please just print my order. Me, malicious compliance kicking in okay. I printed the entire stack of 50 resumes and was squaring them up when I noticed lorem ipsum dollar sit amet in the last paragraph on the page. At this point, I had to tell her, right?
As I was walking over to the counter to show her the missed filler text,
She yelled. Witchy customer, will you please not crimp the pages? I need to hand those out. So I made it to the counter, gently placing her copies in a bag, and rang her out. She did come back later to complain, but my manager assured her that we don't make it a practice to proofread customers' documents, as that's their responsibility. Story 5. This happened a few weeks ago. After a whole day of work and an excruciating workout session, my partner took me to a big hardware store to get a few things he needed. I soon grew bored of wandering around the aisles because, for him, it was basically Wonderland, but I was practically dead on my feet. So, I did what any sane person would do and went to the only camping chair on display and sat down on it to wait for him. The only problem: the chair was at the front of the store, right in front of the entry doors and the customer service station. Immediately, a person waiting at the customer service station looked at me, irate, and asked, "Is there no one here?" Looking around, I didn't spot any employees, so I smiled and said, "I guess not, but someone will be here soon." He continued glaring at me and said, "Well, now would be a good time." I shrugged and then closed my eyes, not realizing that he meant I should go help him because why would I? A minute later, I heard, "That chair sure looks comfy." I opened my eyes to find a man in his 60s smiling down at me. So I smiled and said, "Yeah, it sure is. And it's also on discount." The man nodded and went on his merry way. At this point, another guy came in and asked me, "Where can I find Zeiss?" I shrugged my shoulders and said, "Not sure." In the span of the next 20 minutes, which felt like an eternity when I was just trying to doze off, I was disturbed by an array of customers asking different questions or just nodding at me. Obviously, by the fifth or sixth one, I realized that everyone thought I worked there. Growing more irritated by the second, I was contemplating risking hypothermia from the pouring rain or suffocation in my car while I slept, when I saw the kind old guy about to leave. As he passed me, he nodded again, and I smiled and remarked, "I guess this chair wasn't such a good idea. Everyone thinks I work here." The old man said, "Oh, dear, I also thought you worked here, but not because of the chair." That was actually rather odd, seeing an employee sitting on a camping chair the whole time. "It's just your clothes," he nodded towards me. So I looked down and realized that I had been sitting in front of the entrance wearing the exact same shade of the two colors of the whole store, specifically their logo and employee uniforms. I have not been back there since that day.